Joe Biden's inauguration may have been a day of firsts, breaking the record for the oldest president elected, bringing us the first female vice president, and an inauguration during a global pandemic, just to name a few. But maybe history can allow us some insight into what to expect as we go forwards from here. Well, here to take up what we can learn from President Biden's inauguration, his first few days in office, and to put it in historical context for us is presidential historian and New York Times bestselling author Doug Wead. Doug, thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for having me.
So, as the media have not ceased to point out, this is a historic presidency. Some of the things I've just named there, the first, obviously, female and vice president of color, the oldest president taking office after 4 years of what's been a fairly turbulent time. It's too early to say anything important, to say anything significant yet, but in the first few days and from the inauguration itself, what's your impression of what kind of a presidency Joe Biden might have?
Well, I think he's got a tremendous advantage, pro and con, with the sympathetic media. You would think that would be a complete advantage. On the other hand, there's the risk of insulting the intelligence of your audience if they keep asking, was that chocolate or vanilla, that milkshake? So, yes. But that should be an advantage for him if he works it right, and the media is a little bit restrained from its enthusiasm.
He's talked obviously a lot about bringing the country together. The theme of his inaugural speech was unity. You have to contrast that perhaps with some of the early actions that he's taken already. And it is a very polarized and very divided country. What do you think he can do anything that previous presidents have been unable to do to bring the country to more unity?
Well, he's got to reach out to the other side. I mean, the country was terribly divided in 1800. George Washington died in 1799 in despair over the emergence of the two political parties. There were the Republicans, who were the forerunners of what became the Democratic Party, and there were the Federalists. But in his inaugural address, Jefferson said, "We are all Republicans. We are all Federalists." He even, imagine this, defended the rights of those who were calling for an overthrow of the U.S. government. He said they were like monuments to free speech. So you contrast that today. I think Biden missed a great moment when he was first president-elect and he used it to attack Donald Trump. It's kind of like, wait a minute, you won the election. You don't have to do this. And to call his supporters terrorists. I think that was a bad move.
That clearly was not the way to bring the country together. But do you think that the way in which the Trump presidency ended in tumult and controversy, and obviously with the events of January the 6th, and I think most people, and I think the polling suggests that whatever they think of President Trump, whatever they think of the election, they were appalled by what happened on January the 6th. Do you think that helped? That makes things, if anything, easier for Joe Biden, that maybe there is a little bit more goodwill there, that people have stepped back from the brink of that violent assault on the Capitol? Or do you think it just underscores how divided the country is and makes it difficult for him?
No, I think it helps him, and he himself said that when he was asked. He thought it made things better. But you've got to show leadership if you want unity to reach out to them. People are saying, well, he had to attack Trump and Trump supporters because of their actions, but Abraham Lincoln didn't attack the South. In his second inaugural, he said, and Biden quoted these words, "Malice toward none and charity for all." That's leadership, reaching out to the other side.
And just very briefly, Doug, because we've got to wrap up. So far, we've heard a lot of good words about unity, but most of the actions, the early executive orders, some of the things that he's been talking about, some of the measures that he's been putting in place, rather, they look like a pretty traditional Democratic agenda, not designed to appeal to a lot of Republicans who might be full of goodwill for him.
Yeah, it shows you how deep the bitterness is. It's really deep. And it seems the Republicans, the Democrats got to get off Trump. They got to show us what their future is. It almost shows intellectual weakness to constantly be attacking Trump. Let go of that bone and give us your vision of the future.
Good advice there, Doug. We'll see if they can indeed let go of that bone, or whether they get their, now they have their teeth into it, whether they'll stay there forever. Doug Wead, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, Gary.
My friends are calling me all the time and writing me and saying, "You've disappeared from television. We can't find you. We don't see you anymore." This is the only way we've figured out how to beat the censors. If you subscribe to this channel, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell, you'll get notification when I'm on TV. Otherwise, you won't get my Instagrams, my messages on Facebook. It's censorship. So I want to hear from you. I want you to be able to hear from me.